Hi, my dear friends. Hopefully, all of you fine and safe. I am also be fine and safe, my dear friends. Now, I am going to present in front of you in a simplified manner with ample of examples electronic invoice, namely e-invoice concept under the GST, Goods and Services Tax. Before commencing, my dear friends, I would like to bring to your notice important announcement from our Unacademy is as follows. CA Iconic program, a flagship program for CA final aspirants, wherein you have the bouquet of benefits, live mentoring platform available, my dear, one-to-one doubt solving sessions are available, evaluated test series are conducting for every attempt, 3-layer test series are conducting by the Unacademy, printed books are providing to the learners from Unacademy top educators as well as Asha's Academy top educators. Printed books are giving, that facility is available in Iconic subscription. Discord community building platform is available. Further, my dear friends, in Iconic flagship program, one-to-one live mentoring in Iconic has been launched now. Give your exam preparation an extra edge with our live mentoring platform. Experience personalized learning like never before with our seasoned doubt solvers. Discuss your doubts, clarify your concepts and enhance your exam preparation with just a click in Unacademy app. Get your live queries solved on daily basis from top subject matter experts. Evaluated test series, just now I referred to you, 3-layer test series for every attempt has been launched now, my dear friends. Give your exam preparation an extra edge with our latest addition in Iconic subscription. Iconic subscription, CA Final Group 1, CA Final Group 2, CA Final Combo Group 1, Group 2 subscription. While subscribing, please use my code RAFILIVE to get a flat 10% discount from the existing subscription price. With this, my dear friends, let us start now e-invoice, electronic invoice under the GST, which is the latest concept presenting in a simplified diagrammatic manner, illustrative manner is as follows. E-invoice, electronic invoice. Basically, it was applicable prior to 1st January 2021 if aggregate turnover of a taxable person more than 500 crores, which has been further reduced with effect from 1st January 2021, the limit more than 100 crores. If it is there as a turnover of a taxpayer, mandatorily adopt e-invoicing concept. Now what happened? With effect from 1st April 2021, this aggregate turnover limit of a taxable person further has been reduced. Just if you cross previous year aggregate turnover 50 crores, for you mandatorily you should adopt e-invoicing concept, electronic invoice. Now the law of the land is as follows. Aggregate turnover of a taxpayer in the preceding financial year exceeds 50 crores, mandatory to adopt from 1st April 2021 onwards, electronic invoice format to issue invoices. It is mandatory. Now the point comes into picture, how one can identify aggregate turnover as referred under section 2 subsection 6 of the CGST Act 2017, where we have definition for the term aggregate turnover, which includes all type of supplies of a taxable person. It may be taxable supply of goods or services, exempt supply of goods or services, or the supply has been made by the supplier on which recipient liable to pay GST. Still it is a turnover of the supplier. Export turnover, all are should be included in the aggregate turnover. PAN based all India basis aggregate turnover, meaning thereby if X Limited has 4 locations in 4 places, different places, one factory in Chennai, other factory in Mumbai, third factory at New Delhi, fourth factory Kolkata, 4 locations, 4 different metros, the X Limited has factories, 4 registrations under the GST, but PAN number remains same. Aggregate all the turnovers, all the 4 factories turnover of X Limited which has one PAN number, aggregate it in the preceding financial year. How much it is? Is it exceeds 50 crores? Is it exceeds 50 crores? Yes sir, exceeded sir. Mandatory adopt from 1st April 2021 onwards e-invoice issuing concept is a mandatory, which is not included in the aggregate turnover of 50 crores means GST taxes should not include CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, GST compensation cess should not include in the aggregate turnover. The next one, you should not include in the aggregate turnover inward supplies on which you are liable to pay GST under RCM. Either it may be section 9, subsection 3 of the CGST Act or section 9, subsection 4 of the CGST Act, as the case may be. Being a recipient, you are received the goods or services where you being a recipient liable to pay GST. Pay the GST does not mean that it is your turnover. Therefore, hey Mr. Recipient, you pay the GST on inward supply, it is not your turnover. That should not be included in the aggregate turnover of 50 crores. Once we understand how to determine the 50 crores turnover by inviting the attention on the part of section 2 subsection 6 of the CGST Act, now referring to you furthermore, my dear friends, a case where a taxable person asking a doubt, hey Mr. Auditor, please tell me, I have very much interest to issue e-invoice, but my aggregate turnover only 5 crore, not exceed 50 crores. Voluntarily I wanted to adopt e-invoice. Is okay for me? Allowed to me? The law of the land says that voluntarily e-invoice not applicable. Voluntarily you want to adopt e-invoice, presently not applicable. Your turnover exceeds 50 crores during or preceding the financial year, then you go mandatorily from 1st April 2021 onwards e-invoicing. If my turnover not exceed the threshold limit of 50 crores, voluntarily adopting e-invoice not permitted. That's why I mentioned here, aggregate turnover in any financial year, preceding financial year, exceeds 50 crore with effect from 1st April 2021. E-invoice is mandatory. If not exceeded, then e-invoice is not mandatory. At the same time, voluntarily cannot opt e-invoice. Having this concept, presenting in front of you, my dear friends. What are the cases for which e-invoicing is not required even though the turnover of a taxable person exceeds 50 crores? This is very important area, my dear friends. Very important area. Clients used to ask to the auditors, sir, please tell us, our turnover exceeds 50 crores. For us, e-payment, e-invoicing is mandatory, sir. Therefore, it is not only useful for the learners who are preparing for the exam of CA final, but also beloved friends who are in practice as a GST practitioners. For them also highly useful. Exemption from mandatory e-invoicing means e-invoice is not warranted even though the turnover exceeded 50 crores for whom it is. First and foremost, point number 1. Special economic zone units are not required to issue e-invoice even though the turnover may be exceeds 50 crores. But this is not applicable to special economic zone developers. There are two parties here. Special economic zone unit, other one is special economic zone developers. For a special economic zone developers, for them e-invoicing mandatory if the turnover of the special economic zone developer in the preceding financial year exceeds 50 crores. Whereas SEZ units, for them e-invoicing is not mandatory if the turnover even though turnover exceeds 50 crores, e-invoicing not mandatory. SEZ units, for them turnover maybe exceeds 50 crores, e-invoicing not mandatory for a special economic zone units. Further, a insurance company or a banking company or a financial institutions, NBFC, non-banking financial corporations, are also be exempted by issuing mandatorily e-invoicing. E-invoice not mandatory, my dear friends, for those who are belongs to financial institutions like LIC, like the ICICI Lombard, like that. A insurance company or a banking company, maybe private bank, public bank, scheduled bank, or it may be foreign bank operating in India, as the case may be, or any financial institutions. Financial institutions means there are any number of institutions are there. Financial institutions like we call it as a HDFC, Home Loan Department, or otherwise we can call it as what we can call here the mutual fund companies, also we come under the non-banking financial company category, who are not operating core banking operations. We call them NBFCs, including mutual funds. Yes, NBFC includes mutual funds companies. For them, e-invoicing not mandatory. Further, my dear friends, goods transport agency, GTA, where the goods transported by road and the GTA issuing consignment note, then we call them goods transport agency, is a supplier of transportation of goods by road. If that is the case, it may be a forward charge. It may be a forward charge wherein the supplier opted to pay the GST 12% at the beginning of the financial year. GTA opted to pay the GST 12% at the beginning of the financial year is a forward charge. If not opted, reverse charge, as the case may be, where the recipient liable to pay GST and reverse charge. If GTA not opted to pay 12% GST, in that case, goods transport agency services, where the transportation of goods by road is considered, my dear friends, for them e-invoicing not mandatory, even for a supplier not mandatory. If the recipient liable to pay GST, for the recipient also not mandatory, because it is a GTA nature supply, goods transport agency services. But I am not telling you that transportation of goods by air transport, air cargo, e-invoice mandatory. goods transport agencies, transportation of goods by road, where there is no exemption, taxable. If so, taxable in the hands of supplier. If the GT opted to pay 12%, if not, the recipient liable to pay GST at the rate of 5% under RCM. As the case may be, GTA supply, e-invoice not mandatory. Further, my dear friends, supplier of passenger transportation services, supplier of passenger transportation services, it may be by road, it may be by air, it may be by rail or through a vessel, as the case may be. Transportation of passenger services provider, for them e-invoicing is not mandatory, even though the supplier turnover exceeds 50 crores in the preceding financial year. Further, my dear friends, if the preceding financial year turnover not exceeded 50 crores, accepted, but in the current financial year exceeded 50 crores turnover, in between of the current financial year exceeded 50 crores, then you have to be adopt e-invoicing mandatorily soon after it crosses 50 crores turnover in the current financial year itself. Previous year is the base. If not, current year will be the base. Further, my dear friends, e-invoicing is also not mandatory. Supplier of service by way of admission to exhibition of cinema photographic films, cinema theatres, multi-screen theatres, where the tickets are booking through online nowadays. As the case may be, e-invoicing concept not applicable for cinema theatres, in simple terminology to say, even though their turnover exceeds 50 crores. Further, e-invoice is not applicable for nil rated supply of goods or services or both, or wholly exempted goods or services. E-invoicing not required to issue. Further, my dear friends, for high sea sales and bonded warehouse sales, e-invoice not applicable. What do you mean by bonded warehouse? When I import the goods, submitted yellow color bill of entry to warehouse my goods, where I deferred payment of import duties. My goods are in the warehouse. During the warehousing period of my goods, I sold that goods in India to somebody else. If so, such a supply excluded from the scope of supply under Schedule 3 of CGST Act 2017. Schedule 3, point number 8, sub point A. Goods are cleared for warehousing, and during the tenure of warehousing, the goods has been sold before clearing for home consumption. In such case, supply excludes transaction of sale where the goods are lying in the warehouse before clearing for home consumption, which is not a supply. In that case, e-invoicing not required to issue at all. Further, my dear friends, high sea sale, the goods has been dispatched from the country of exporter port and the goods are about to reach to Indian port. That time, the goods on which ownership held by the importer by holding the bill of entry that has been endorsed has been passed to a newcomer who purchased that goods. That means the importer, before clearing the imported goods after dispatch from the exporter country, but before clearing for home consumption, that goods has been sold to a new buyer in India by the importer by transferring the bill of entry. In that case, my dear friends, it is not a supply. Supply excludes Schedule 3, point number 8, sub point B it is. Therefore, in that case, what is not a supply, why should I consider e-invoice under GST? E-invoice not applicable for high sea sales. We call it as a high sea sale. The goods dispatched from the country of origin before clearing for home consumption in India, that goods has been sold by transferring documents of title, namely bill of entry, to somebody else in India, which is not a supply. It is a high sea sale, which is not a supply. Therefore, issue of e-invoicing does not arise. Further, my dear friends, point number 8, electronic invoice is not applicable for import bill of entries. E-invoice not applicable for import bill of entries. When a importer purchases the goods from outside India, the goods coming to India, that exporter not required to issue e-invoice as per the e-invoice concept referred under the GST. E-invoice not applicable. Further, my dear friends, point number 9, very important point, my dear sir. Free trade and warehousing zones, FTWZ. What are they? Free trade and warehousing zones are none other than a kind of special economic zone, but not special economic zone. Under the special economic zone, what happened? There is activity of manufacturing, whereas in the case of free trade and warehousing zone, where it is a place in India treated as separate island within the territory of India, where the goods are stored after importation before export, and that is called as warehousing. In that, there may be packing, repacking, labeling only can be done. Manufacturing activity not possible to carry out. Such a place in India will be called as free trade and warehousing zones, meaning thereby if they import the goods, not liable to pay import duty. When they export back that goods to somebody else, in that case, realizing the foreign currency, in that case there won't be any duty drawback, because the benefit of non-payment of duty on account of import has been availed already. At the same time, if you supply the goods to free trade warehousing zone, is called as export. Zero rated supply it is. Same as SEZ, but not exactly SEZ. It is a place where to store the goods, warehousing the goods after importation and exporting, to have a free flow trade internationally, earning the foreign currency in India. Therefore, this particular free trade warehousing zones are getting almost all the export benefits par with SEZ units. We call it as separate island within the territory of India. Supply to SEZ, there won't be any GST. SEZ units are not liable to pay any GST at all. Likewise, free trade warehousing zone, FTWZs are also not liable to pay any GST. Further, my dear friends, in that case, such free trade warehousing zones are not required to issue e-invoicing even though their turnover exceeds 50 crores. Further, my dear friends, e-invoicing is not applicable for the input service distributor who distribute the input tax credit on input services among their other units having the same PAN number but multiple GST registrations. In that case, input service distributor distributing the credit to their other units, such input service distributor not required to issue e-invoice. Electronic invoice not required even though the unit turnover, the entire organization turnover exceeds 50 crores in the preceding financial year. Further, my dear friends, very important area referring to you, my dear sir, for your kind consideration, where the supplies are received by notified persons from an unregistered person, attracting reverse charge under section 9 subsection 4 of CGST Act. I will tell you, section 9 subsection 4 of the CGST Act speaks, if a promoter or a builder who procure the goods or services from unregistered person beyond the limit permissible. What is the limit permissible here? Means they are permitted to procure the goods minimum 80% from registered person. If they procure the goods 60% from registered person, means they purchase 40% from unregistered person. What is 60% or 40%? Means the project cost, for example, 100 crores. A builder project cost to complete the construction 100 crores. Out of 100 crores project cost, the builder or promoter should procure the goods or services minimum 80% from a registered person. Balance 20% of the project cost can be procured from a registered person, no problem. In that case, 9(4) not apply. 9(4) will apply if the promoter builder procured goods or services from registered person only 60%. Minimum requirement is 80%, but procured how much? 60%. That means 40% of the project cost they procured from where? From unregistered person. Permissible limit to procure the goods services from unregistered person only 20%. Over and above 20%, how much is there? 20 crores is there. That means they are procuring 60 crores from registered person, 40 crores from unregistered person. Permissible to procure only 20 crores only, but they procured 40 crores. Over and above 20%, how much? The 20%, which is 20 crores. 20 crores of goods services are received from unregistered person by builder promoter. The builder promoter is liable to pay GST on that 20 crores under RCM under section 9 subsection 4. This is applicable only for a given particular service of construction nature where the builder promoter procure the goods from unregistered person beyond a particular limit prescribed. Over and above the prescribed limit, whatever procured, the builder promoter being a recipient liable to pay GST. In that case, e-invoicing concept for the recipient not applicable. For builder promoter, e-invoice not applicable under section 9(4) category. Further, e-invoice also be not applicable if the goods has been import or the service has been import. Instead of goods, service has been import. If I import services from outside India, where I am liable to pay IGST, e-invoice is not applicable. If I import the goods, e-invoice not applicable. If import the services, e-invoice not applicable. As simple as that. Further, my dear friends, e-invoice also be not applicable. The last point, last but not the least, very important point. Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs has notified stating that the e-invoicing system shall not apply to government department as well as local authority. Very important, my dear friends. I would like to bring to your notice. One client asked me, by sir, this particular government department, which includes our CA Institute, ICAI, our IITs, IIMs, I said, it is not so. You should have to have clarity, my dear friends. Government department different from governmental authority as well as government entity. What do you mean by government department? Means 1. Central Board of Indirect Tax and Customs, government department. Income Tax Department, government department. GST department, government department. Are you getting my point? So, like that, government departments are not mandatory to required to issue e-invoicing even though their turnover exceeds 50 crores. Like the what we can call as the local authorities also be not required to issue e-invoice, like panchayat, municipality, corporation, greater corporation. These local authorities, irrespective of their turnover, e-invoice not mandatory. At the same time, e-invoice also not mandatory to government department, central or state, as the case may be, but not governmental authorities. Who are the governmental authorities? Governmental authorities means the authority or establishment established by passing an act in the parliament or state legislative assembly, or the institutions set up by the government with 90% of equity or participation by voting right, meeting the objectives of Article 243G or Article 243W. In that case of the Constitution of India, in that case we can declare that as a governmental authorities. Government authority different from government department. Second, government entity means the entity established by passing an act in the parliament or state legislative assembly or otherwise the institution in which not less than 90% of the equity share held by the government or voting rights not less than 90% held by the government is called government entity. Under that category of government entity, these ICAI, IIMs, IITs will come. Therefore, these are the institutions not covered under the government department, resulting that these institutions require to issue e-invoicing. Whereas government department, income tax department, the Union Telecommunication Ministry, all ministries of the central state government, they are not required to issue e-invoice. Further, my dear friends, bringing to your notice in a simplified manner to present here one simple example 1 here. In this example, what happened? There are 2 units. One is in SEZ, other one is in non-SEZ, belongs to one company. One company has 2 units, one in SEZ area, other one is in DT area, domestic tariff area. Their aggregate turnover, if you refer, SEZ unit is 50 crores, DTA unit 10 crores, but both belongs to one company, one PAN holder, therefore 60 crores. Exceed 50 crores? Yes. In that case, e-invoice is mandatory for SEZ unit? No. But DTA unit, though the turnover of a DTA unit only 10 crores, in spite of that, e-invoice is mandatory because aggregate turnover exceeds 50 crores. Therefore, DTA unit compulsory to issue e-invoice is one of the clarification from the CBSE present as an example. Further, my dear friends, e-invoice is applicable in the case where the recipient liable to pay GST, where the supplier supply the goods or services, recipient liable to pay GST. In that case, supplier whose aggregate turnover exceeds 50 crores in the preceding financial year, in the current year mandatorily such a supply should be issued, such a supplier of goods or services or both should issue e-invoicing. Got the clarity, my dear friends? That means RCM cases, supplier should have to issue the e-invoice. In the given example, I given one example by saying that supplier of service, firm of advocates provide these services here. Firm of advocates, aggregate turnover exceeds 50 crores in the preceding financial year. In the current year, they supply the service to business entity whose aggregate turnover in the previous year exceeds the threshold limit for registration. Therefore, RCM apply, recipient of service liable to pay GST. In spite of that, e-invoice should be issued and reported by supplier to invoice reference portal IRP. E-invoice mandatory for supplier whose supply will attract RCM. In spite of that, supplier should issue e-invoice. Advantages of e-invoicing. Yes, we have auto reporting invoice in the GST returns. A very good feature it is. Auto generation of e-way bill will take place. E-invoicing will also facilitate standardization and interoperability, leading to reduction of disputes among the transacting parties. Transparency takes place. Very clear-cut information available whenever to extract the data. Further, reduction of processing cost, thereby greatly improve overall business efficiency, etc. the benefits. Further, my dear friends, e-invoicing is different from present system? Absolutely not. E-invoicing is a facility using with the help of information technology system, but under this particular information technology system, which is to be provide facility to generate e-invoice, there must be ERP system or there must be National Information Center to generate GST e-invoicing preparing and printing tool, GEPP should be available. It is sufficient to have transparency in transactions. If I, being a supplier, issue the e-invoice, auto populating that credit in the recipient books of accounts if I have been supplied the goods or services as a B2B transaction. Therefore, here important point, there is no much difference indeed. Registered persons continue to create the GST invoice on their own account billing ERP system. These invoices will now be reported to Invoice Reference Portal, namely called as IRP. On reporting Invoice Reference Portal, the e-invoice with a unique reference number will be generated here. Unique invoice reference number IRN will be generated after digitally signing the e-invoice and adding a quick response code. A quick response code is important nowadays in case of B2B cases. Then the invoice can be issued to the receiver along with the quick response code. A GST invoice will be valid only with a valid invoice reference number IRN. Invoice to be issued by specified registered persons whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year exceeds 50 crores from 1st April 2021. To an unregistered person, even supply B2C transaction e-invoice to have dynamic reference code, QR code is must. Further, my dear friends, e-invoicing, if there is no facility of ERP, no problem, we can have the GST e-invoice preparing and printing portal GEPP, which is a parallel to ERP. There is an Excel based tool to assist the taxpayer who are not having the ERP solution to enter invoice in a user friendly form and print e-invoice with quick response code after downloading invoice reference number from e-invoice portal. Silent features of the e-invoice tool is as follows: simple form for entering the invoice by one, creation of supplier profile, creation of recipient master, creation of harmonized system of nomenclature, HSN, preparing e-invoice in JSON file like a PDF format, unalterable format it is, preparation of e-invoice and JSON file, generation of invoice reference number, downloading and reporting quick response code in the tool, printing the e-invoice from the tool. The benefits of GEPP, Goods and Service Tax Electronic Invoice Preparing and Printing Tool, benefits are as follows: assist the taxpayer to prepare and print e-invoice with quick response code, facilitate exchange of the data with the e-invoice system as per the interface format suitable for taxpayers not having the ERP system or issuing 10 to 12 invoices in case of B2B, business to business and export cases per day. For them, GEPP, Goods and Service Tax Electronic Invoice Printing and Preparing Tool, highly useful. And recommendation here is use a separate the GEPP tool for each GSTIN number wise. As simple as that. This is what, my dear friends, to bring to your notice in nutshell, to have a quick look on our e-invoicing concept under the GST, which is made mandatory from 1st April 2021. Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you to one and all for listening this. Thank you, sir. Thank you to all of you.